Hi, welcome to the latest episode. Got a really special guest here today, slightly off topic of Amazon and the usual content of this podcast. And we're talking more broadly and holistically about D2C growth. So really super excited to have Chloe Thomas on the podcast today. She's a little bit of a celebrity in this world. Everybody knows her. If you're not connected with her, why not? And I highly recommend you connect on LinkedIn. She's very visible and she has an amazing newsletter and various podcasts. Chloe admits she's absolutely obsessed with e-commerce, sustainability, marketing. She's best-selling author, international keynote speaker, sought-after panel moderator and podcast host. She's currently focused on scaling her own media company dedicated to helping brands succeed in the turbulent world of e-commerce. So with over 20 years experience, she's interviewed and worked with over 800 individual brands and experts. So there's nothing that Chloe doesn't know. So I'm super excited to invite her today. So Chloe, welcome and thank you for your time.
Oh, hi, Emma. Very cool to be here. Thank you for such an impressive introduction. I've clearly been very busy in the last 20 years. So very cool to be here. Thank you.
Chloe, you're everywhere I go. So not only in like Amazon, it's D2C, it's everywhere, it's e-commerce. So thank you for your time today. Focus of today's episode is going to be 3 ways to grow your e-commerce brand in 2026. Massive topic. So we are going to break that down. Okay. But if we are going to draw on Chloe's breadth and depth of experience. And so hopefully this podcast will be absolutely filled with top tips, advice and warnings about what not to do in 2026. So let's start off really with a little bit more of a background as to how have you got so immersed into this world of e-commerce? What do you love about it?
I got immersed by accident, a series of events that led to me working at a brand, high street omnichannel brand back in the early 2000s. And I think what keeps me here, I think, first of all, was the numbers and the tracking and the ability to tie what you do within the business down to actual results. You know, Emma, as you'll know, in mine and yours business, we're trying to track leads and conversion takes forever. And you can't say, oh, I went on that podcast and it brought in exactly this within 2 hours. It doesn't happen. In e-commerce, that does happen, which is so exciting and so cool. And then as it's progressed, I find the consumer psychology of it all really fascinating as well. And then that takes you into the tech. And I'm not sure there's a bit of it I don't like, to be honest.
Interesting. So let's explore some of these questions and break down that massive topic of 2026. So at the time of recording, it's the start of February 2026. So we've got several months left before we even enter Q4. But 2026 is going to be massive. I can just feel it now. There's so much change and turbulence and exciting opportunities, especially with AI. So let's get started on question number 1. What do you think, so your opinion, your expertise, insights, what is genuinely working for D2C brands right now?
So in previous years, it would have been easy to answer this. And I could have just said Facebook ads, or I could have said Google ads if we go back far enough in time, or email marketing if we go really far back in time. Not that any of those things don't work now, but they would have just been a really easy, what is actually working for brands right now. And all those things continue to work for brands. What I like to think about is who the winners will be and what the winners will have done to become the winners. For me, at the moment in D2C, that comes down to 3 things. Mm-hmm. 1, customer research. And I'll keep these short. And then Emma, we can dive in as you want to. So the first one's customer research. Second one is cross-business strategic clarity. Okay. And the third one is feeding the algorithm. Which are all 3 huge topics. I mean, I reckon we could probably do 8 podcast episodes on each one of them, but that's the piece that the D2C brands who are going to win in 2026 are getting right. And it's all foundational stuff. And that's because 2026 is a foundational year. You get those foundations rock solid and right, and you are going to be successful this year, but you'll also be building success for the next 5-10 years as well.
Okay, so let's explore those three a little bit further. So let's take one in each turn. So, and if you can define it and give it an example of that, I'd be really interested also to think about every agency, marketing agency in the e-commerce space promises that they will be the right partner for all of these e-commerce brands. So I'd just like your opinion on that as well. So let's take each one in turn. So I'm really interested in your advice.
Should we do the agency bit first?
Okay,
and then we'll go on to the other three. Get that elephant out of the room, because I think you're completely right. They do. Hands on the table, cards on the table, whatever the right phrase is. I ran a marketing agency for 10 years. So I've been both sides. I've worked brand side hiring agencies. I ran an agency for 10 years. I've seen most sides of the coin. And I think that I reckon 50% of breakups between agency and brand are because the brand chose the wrong agency in the first place. And that's because the brand doesn't know what they're buying. They don't understand what they want to achieve or what their strategy is. And they get... And it's so easy. I'm not criticizing brands for this. I'm recommending brands do better, try harder to find the right agency and understand these things before they go down that route. Because, when you think about just Facebook ads or Amazon PPC, you can hire a freelancer via Upwork or Fiverr to do some stuff for you. And that could be the perfect solution for you at the stage your business is at. You could go to the creme de la creme number one agency who have the massive stand at the expo, who are delivering the keynote speeches, who run the podcast and, doing all of the stuff, have a team of 3,000. You could hire them and that might be the perfect solution for you. You've got to find the right fit. But it is also down to the agencies to help you find the right fit and to say, you're spending £100 a month. I'm not sure our £1,000 a month fee is a good idea for you. There has to be pushback in both sides. That discovery process needs to be done better. I think that's why the agency relationship fails. I think also at the moment, there's so much shift and change going on in most marketing channels that you need, as a buyer of agency services, you really need to be clued up on what's going on in the space, enough to ask the right questions.
Ask the right questions, exactly.
Yeah.
And challenge as well what the agencies are saying, because like with the bigger agencies as well, we've got sales, we've got marketing teams, we've got targets. So yeah, asking the right questions. I wholeheartedly agree with you there. Thank you. So the top three then, let's break those down.
Okay, so the first one is customer research. We are now in a far more competitive market space than we have ever been in before. In the D2C space, in the email inbox, in the search engine algorithms, in Amazon itself, right? The competition levels are only going up, which means we need to really understand who our customer is. And more importantly than that, why they're choosing to buy our type of product and why they're choosing to buy our specific product from those types of products. So I'm talking customer surveys, analysing all the data you've got, looking at customer service responses and reviews, looking at maybe even running customer panels, phoning up your customers and asking them questions. So you really understand why they're choosing to buy your product. And then that filters into everything else in the business. So that's what I mean by customer research. If you haven't got your finger on the pulse of that, it's going to be a tough year.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's close to my heart when we focus on conversion rate optimization, really understanding your customer, their behavioral psychology, the why behind the buy. And sometimes some of the brands that we work with are very product focused. So they think the reason people are going to buy this product is the reason that they've made that product. So it's quite difficult, isn't it? Would you agree to explain that actually it's what the customer thinks, feels, wants, what they're...
Completely. I am like those clients you were talking about. I will naturally just go features, and completely forget about benefits. So I have to work hard at doing this. And as you were saying that, I was like, oh gosh, that email I'm about to send out later today. Clearly, I've got all in on features and done no benefits at all. So yeah, it's tough. But I think as an Amazon seller, you're in a slightly better position than a D2C brand or a pure D2C who's purely doing online sales, because that focus on getting your product page right and the data you get back and the reviews data you naturally get on the platform puts you higher up and has already pushed your skill set higher than most brands who are purely selling via their own website. So you've got a little bit of an advantage as an Amazon native, I suppose, with this.
Yeah, and the feedback as well that you get not only from reviews, but for keyword data analysis as well, gets you deeper into that psychology of the why behind the buy. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. So yeah, research, number one.
Okay, number two then is cross-business strategic clarity, which is a very grand term for a whole load of stuff, which is partly the kind of like the guiding light principle, where everyone in the business knows we are trying to be the number one toothpaste brand, the best homewares organizing products, the number one diary company, whatever it might be. Everyone in the business understands that's the guiding objective. And there may be additional things feeding into that about key platforms and, who the customer is and all that kind of stuff. But everybody in the whole business, no matter what the department they're in, no matter what they're doing, they understand that is part of the business. That's part of it. Also part of it is cohesive systems and data. And essentially, I could call this one kill the silos, but you kind of need that key direction. So it's that leadership direction, but also everyone working together, looking at the same data. No, none of those arguments when merchandising says this happened and marketing say this happened, and they won't actually get anywhere because they're going to spend every single meeting arguing.
Or finance versus marketing is always a big one.
Exactly. So there's like the tech piece of cohesive data and metrics and all that kind of thing. There's also the tech piece and the data piece of copy and graphics and all that kind of stuff. So everyone's using the same things. But there's also, I think, far more importantly, the leadership and the mindset piece of we're all working together. It's not one department versus, it's not Amazon versus store. It's we're all doing it. We know where we fit. We know what we're doing. We know how we can help each other because it's the whole that's the most important thing. And I don't think you can do that without doing the first one either.
Yeah, good point. And can I ask your opinion on how you see companies following your advice there and bringing different agency partners into that communication as well? So whether you're working with a PR agency, an influencer agency, an Amazon agency, look at somebody looking after your email marketing, actually all talking together rather than those silos as well, external silos. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think that's one of the hardest bits to get right, and also with distributed teams as well. You can think, oh, it's great. We've got a Google Doc that's got the key stuff in it. Everyone's going to look at the Google Doc every day. No, they're
absolutely
not. You can kind of go, well, we're all logging into Asana, so it's fine. But you end up, even in platforms like that, you end up with only a little view on your bit. So you have to bring people together virtually and potentially in a physical space, a quarterly. If you've got a big new product launch coming up, get everyone. I know you've got a ton of stuff to do anyway, but get everyone in the same room so they can feel and touch the product, so they can hear from. So the marketing agencies can hear from the buyers why we've designed it like this, why we've put it like this. So the customer service team can hear. So you've got all these elements coming together, so everyone actually understands the accurate level of it. Frequency and methods of those meetings are going to change from company to company, but it's also the mindset shift. So the people managing all those agencies are talking to each other as well. If you've got the internal mindset bit going, then actually the getting everyone together for a day bit becomes far less onerous because actually the right messages are being distributed at all the same time, rather than it being once a quarter we all get together and there's like this line in the sand. It has to evolve, so you need that mindset and communication piece ongoing.
I suppose it's cultural, isn't it then? But embedding that culturally within the whole organisation at every different level, external and internal. Do you know any companies that's getting this right? Any company that you admire?
Oh, see, there is a problem when you go past about 500 podcast episodes, which is the encyclopedic knowledge of who said what, where, and when starts to evaporate. And then I think of something, and then I can't remember the other part of it. But there was a business called Leader Online who haven't been on the podcast. So my mythical PR team will be telling me off for this one. But anyway, called Leader Online, who I did a webinar with about a big tech stack replatforming that they did. And the way they brought all of their team together was really impressive. And having that through tech and mindset and team and collaboration and guiding light as well, that whole stack of pieces came together to create a really cohesive project where everybody was happy with it at the end. So I think that's the one that springs to mind, but not many are getting it right. Even the startups, those who started with one or two products, quite quickly stuff falls by the wayside or gets lost, or the customer service team ends up being excluded from conversations because everyone forgets to include them. So it's tough. It's difficult to do, and it's a big shift in culture. And unless you've got everyone on board, it's going to be really tough to make it work.
I suppose it's the leaders at the top and the founders that just get the founders, or if you've scaled beyond that level, it's getting it right from the top, isn't it? Right from the top, and not being too busy because.
And not just being lip service either. This is every hour of every day to get this cultural change to happen. Yeah, it's tricky.
Thank you. And then number 3.
Number 3 is feeding the algorithm, which I think you laughed as I said this one the first time. And again, it's...
Which one?
Well, that's why I've left it quite vague, because there are so many algorithms. And if we look at how we can get success with AI and automations, I kind of lumped them into one. I don't care whether you're using AI or whether you're using automation, as long as the outcome you want is happening. I don't really care which tool set you're using, but all of it relies on solid data to work in the first place and then to improve. And if you take the likes of, I suppose Meta ads is probably the best example of this, to get it across to people, is if you want your Meta ads to function well at the moment, you need to be feeding in as much event data from your website and other places, which you're going to have to collect and then give to Meta. You can't just put in the Facebook pixel anymore. It's way beyond the Facebook pixel. You need to get that feeding back into Meta so they can see what's happening with that traffic they're sending you, so they can then do the targeting well for you. Now, that is not a once and done. You have to check it, optimize it, improve it. So it's a whole other extra thing to feed the algorithm. At the other end of the Facebook ad mechanism is the creative, which is your way of briefing Facebook on who you want to see the ads. Because if your creative doesn't recognize your customers, we come back to number 1 and the research piece, then it's not going to attract the right people in the first place to send through to your website. So the whole piece just becomes incredibly difficult if you're not feeding the right stuff into the algorithm at every point. And then we hear people going, right, we're going to build an AI chatbot for the website. It's like, well, that's great. Have you got all the product information on the website? No. Do you know where it is? Well, there's a Dropbox folder with a PDF for each product. And you're like, right. Yeah, that's not really going to work, is it? And maybe this is a company who's got 1,000 different SKUs. That's not an overnight job to get it accurate. And you can't take advantage of a lot of this new exciting tech that's coming if your data isn't correct. So I think that for me is where the other part of it is, which then basically it's not really about feeding the algorithm, it's about getting all the data correct at the bottom of everything.
And point 1 and point 2, the research and the integration internally and externally, all feeds to that, and all that continuous cycle of learning, and isn't it, is going to be absolutely key. So thank you very much. So
I've remembered an example. Yeah. If you want an example of a brand who's doing number 2 quickly, number 2 really well, who I had on our interview not very long ago, called Must Have Ideas, which is an Amazon and e-commerce business. So perfect for your listeners. And we've got an episode going out towards the end of February with them. And they were talking about the cohesiveness of the team and how they keep everyone on track, and the tech stack they've built to do it as well. How could I have forgotten that? Such a cool interview. Anyway, sorry, Emma, I interrupted.
That's fine. No, absolutely no problem. We can put those links in the show notes as well to that episode. So thank you. So do you think, in your opinion, what's been the biggest mistake brands made in 2025? And what can we learn from it?
I think paying lip service to and ignoring AI. So I like to sit behind the curve with new technology. Okay? I like to be a bit of a laggard. I like to wait whilst everybody else works out the playbook. Okay. Now, we don't yet have a full playbook for AI and e-commerce, but we're certainly starting to have one. And it's like, now is the time to be really diving into it. And I think in 2025, if you weren't starting to explore and get your head around what an LLM is, what prompting is, in a business context, and understanding the key things about what about keeping our data internal or external, who do and don't we want to give this to, what should our internal policies be like, all that element of AI. So you don't have one department doing something and one department doing something else, and somebody else, using ChatGPT, feeding all your product data into it. You're just like, that was an error in retrospect. Understanding that and then creating a tech stack system across the business. That, I think, is something which everyone needs to be getting in play. But I also think it's yes, we use AI for a couple of graphics here and there. Or we use AI to write a couple of emails. It's like, that is not the potential of this technology for us. The potential of this technology is taking huge data sets and making and turning them into something good for us. Be that on-site optimization, be that customer service, be that shopping platforms or whatever else it may be. It's that's going to be the big impact for us, not the, we've got an email going out, we could really use an image. I'll just ask ChatGPT or something else to create it for me. So I think the biggest error many will realize they've made in 2025 was not starting to play around with AI.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I also like your point about being a slight laggard, because there's a lot of shiny object syndrome out there at the moment. So many promises, so much potential that I think some of the brands that I've spoken to, and I'm guilty of it myself, spending a lot of time testing new AI tools out and actually it becoming overwhelmed. And what then happens is you try lots of different things and not learning from anything, and nothing's helpful. So then you give up. So I think there's just really taking a step back and making, good qualified judgments about what to invest time and money in.
Well, and it's that whole problem first, not solution first scenario, which is so easy. Oh, that's exciting. Like there's an AI thing, and sorry everybody, bright shiny object alert, called Whisperflow. That is absolutely excellent at, you speak, it turns it into text, and you can put the cursor anywhere on the screen, so you can get it. You can read your emails, say your email replies, you can say your LinkedIn comments, you can do your product copy, and it will just put it in, and it's pretty much bang to go. And I know several people who say this is amazing, it's saving me so many hours on email and all the rest of it. I mean, part of me goes, so we're all going to be stood in an open plan office talking to our computers? Nightmare. But I got really excited. I'm like, I can type really fast. there's never been a point where I've gone, oh gosh, if only I could type faster, my day would be better. And I got so excited about this. It's like, no, Claire, you don't need to test this. This is not an important thing for you. So it's that whole problem first thing. But then also, have you got the data? Now, I hear a lot of people, I suspect you do as well, of people who are testing something amazing, but they haven't got any data to feed into it. So it's never going to deliver anything because they can't train it. They can't, educate it, all the rest of it. It's
output's only as good as the input.
Exactly.
Interesting. Thank you. So let's move on to the next question. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Amazon. So many D2C brands see Amazon as a necessary evil. Okay, high fees, rise in ad costs, limited control, etc., etc. From your perspective and your experience, how would you recommend D2C brands think about Amazon within their wider growth strategy going forward?
Hands up, the only thing I've ever sold on Amazon are books that I've written. So, I'm not an Amazon seller, but as Emma knows, I am relatively well clued up, and I obviously know a lot about the offline thing. And ever since Amazon started, I've been around e-commerce people, mail order people, retailers going, oh, Amazon's a threat. And it's like, kind of got to go, just get over it, because Amazon's there. It's an opportunity. And there are an awful lot of customers who will buy from Amazon, and there's certain things they will only buy from Amazon, right? So if you want to sell to those customers, you're going to have a really difficult time if you're not on Amazon, because they're not even going to realize you exist, because that product category, they buy it on Amazon. So you've lost them already. It's also a huge opportunity of a product showcase and discovery. I think it's still more than 50% of the product journeys on the UK internet start on Amazon. It's why they've just attempted to stop all the AI chatbots from accessing the Amazon website. So they can't. I think in 5 years we'll see this as a gross, short-sighted error. But anyway, it's so they can try and maintain their position as the number one product search engine in the country. Let's not get on. I'm not going to go on that tangent. But they've got so much potential. So I think, yes, there's fees. Yes, it's complicated. Yes, it's a completely different ecosystem that you have to get to grips with. You can't list and hope for success. You have to have a strategy. You have to work on the optimization of the page, of the ads, of everything else that's going on that platform. So I think the danger is you blindly go into it. But I think if you've got a strategy and you know what the role of Amazon is for your business, which products are you going to sell on there? It might not be all of them. You're going to have someone who really understands it. You're going to accept this level of margin because you've got lower costs in other, you're not spending on Facebook ads, Google ads, etc. So the margin there can be this, the margin on your e-commerce store has to be this, the margin via your B2B has to be this. You wouldn't expect any of those margin levels to be the same, or you shouldn't. So I think if you go into it with your eyes open, it remains a huge opportunity. And as we're seeing evolving in this increasingly competitive e-commerce world now, marketplaces are becoming a bigger and bigger piece of the pie. If you want to build a product brand, you've got to play with marketplaces. Amazon is a great place to start, and that then you can build the ops behind it that makes rolling out to the others an awful lot easier. So I've forgotten your exact question, but I think Amazon is a good thing so long as you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Do you think it's right for all brands at all different stages of their life cycle?
No. I think there's some products that it wouldn't make sense to try on sell on Amazon. Fashion's always been tough on Amazon, for example, but there's other products, ranges, healthcare, beauty, homewares, which is just a no-brainer to be on there. I think in terms of stage of business, I could argue it both ways. There is that early stage where you might want to throw your product everywhere to see where it gets traction. Because I've heard many brands who've got huge traction on Amazon and nothing on their website, or they launch and they get loads of traction on their website and nothing on Amazon, and they were expecting the opposite. The website was pretty much a holding page with a buy button, and it's taken off. So there's an argument to doing that straight away. But I think really you to find out which one's going to take off. But I think once you know where the traction is, focusing 80% of it on your resources on wherever the traction is, and then building the other one later when there's the bandwidth, because they're totally different skill sets and optimizations. And if you're trying to do them both at the same time with limited resources to the same level, you're really going to struggle.
Yeah, I think that's such great advice, because especially startups or early stage scale, it's about resource management, whether that's time or whether that's budget. And if you start on all these different platforms, whether it's your own D2C, whether it's marketplaces, whatever it might be, if you're diluting your spends and your human resources, you're not going to get great results. But a lot of the brands that are wanting to get onto Amazon, I find, expect miracles. There's products on Amazon, and of course everyone shops on Amazon. It's going to be super successful, but it's just so expensive to launch and scale on Amazon. So it's choosing your strategy and being really sensible about where you're applying your resources, financial, human resources, and product as well. So thank you. So we're kind of coming towards the end of the podcast. So is there anything from this whole podcast, from your breadth and depth of experience interviewing 800 recording 800 episodes and talking to so many different brands and experts. What would you want our listeners to take away from this podcast episode with February 2026? What's the one piece of advice you're going to give? Like, come on, e-commerce brands, X, Y, Z.
Okay, I think we're not going to repeat the three things I mentioned at the beginning because obviously they're super important. But I think to look at your business, and if there is something that is continuously frustrating you, like you find, for example, in my world, I find I'm writing the same email 20 times, right? I will template that email, and I've got a brilliant tool I can use that allows me to quickly insert the same copy in all kinds of places, right? Really basic example. If it's that you find that you're constantly copying and pasting product information between different systems, find a way to integrate them. If you're finding that your marketing team are constantly hassling the buying and merchandising team for which product to include in this week's email, or your Amazon agency are constantly going, have you got any stock issues you're likely to have? Find a way to automate it, find a way to streamline it, build the systems and the foundations that will remove that from you. If you're in your board, you are constantly going, I think the customer wants this, and someone else is going, no, I think they want this. Then do some research. If you're seeing those things, those problems occurring again and again and again, go and fix them. And as each one gets fixed, find the next one and fix it. That would be my other takeaway.
Thank you. And that is brilliant advice, whether you're a product-based business or you're a service-based business. Yeah, we can all learn from that piece of advice. Thank you. So we're coming to the end of the podcast. And so now we'll, with every episode, we'll launch into the quick fire round. So there's no right answers to this. It's just in your opinion. So I'm going to give you a statement. And if you just answer yes, no, true or false, and just a quick sentence about why you gave that answer. So the first one then. Amazon or TikTok shop?
TikTok shop, and I think I might hate myself for saying that later, because there is more blue ocean there than there is on Amazon right now. That's the primary reason. Amazon is more competitive than TikTok shop. There's more stuff. There's a lot of people who should be on TikTok shop who aren't yet on TikTok shop. So I think as a short-term blue ocean opportunity, TikTok shop.
Love that. Thank you. Seeding campaigns, good idea or bad?
First off, is a seeding campaign where you send product to people to get them to review it? Okay, cool. Yes, because you need customer feedback. So yes, the difficulty is who you send them to. You've got to get that right. But as a concept, yes.
Okay. SEO, dead or alive?
So alive, it's scary.
Okay.
We've just finished recording a series of SEO and GEO, which is AI Search Potential's name, for the Keep Optimizing podcast. And it would be fair to say that all SEO people are really excited right now because they've got so much more interest and work, because 95% of what you do to do well on AI search is SEO. So the SEO industry is very happy right now. So SEO is very much alive.
Thank you. In-house versus agency?
It depends. Am I allowed to get away with that? I think it depends on the size of the business and the level of expertise you need in that area.
That's a good answer. D2C is the primary channel, advantage or vulnerability?
Historically, I would have said advantage. This year, I'm not sure. I don't believe that AI is going to kill the website, but there's so much flux at the moment. I certainly wouldn't be saying to someone who's got a weak D2C site that they needed to fix that above all else. So, yeah.
Okay. That's another podcast episode, I think, that one. Coming back to, we've talked a lot about AI. So AI in e-commerce teams, worth investing in now or wait and see? We've kind of answered it, but...
I think invest now, but first things first, get your policies in place. Make it clear to the team what tools they should and shouldn't be using, how they should and shouldn't be sharing your data, because you could catch a cold with that very easily if you're not on top of it. And then make sure you've got a sharing system going on in the business when people have found things that work particularly well or that don't, because you don't want to accidentally have different departments building up different AI work models. So, yeah.
Are there any tools that you would recommend to help any e-commerce brands follow that advice?
not at the moment. But I would say that you should be speaking to your existing tech stack providers to see what they're doing, because there's some really cool stuff that your existing software that you're paying for is probably delivering, which a lot of them are finding that the AI that's delivering is what's behind the scenes, enabling the customers, the brands, to make better use of the tech. So to unlock all those features you've been paying for years, but you've never had the time to set up. So I would start by looking at your existing tech stack on that front.
Good advice. Good advice. Okay, that's kind of wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for your time today. So if listeners want to learn more about you, LinkedIn, and is there anywhere else that you'd recommend they go and visit?
So I think LinkedIn is probably the most obvious place to go. And then our biggest podcast, go and check it out, is the Ecommerce Masterplan podcast. That's where I interview brands week in, week out for over 10 years. So there's plenty to get your teeth stuck into. And there's a fair few Amazon episodes in there as well. And that must-have ideas one I mentioned earlier. So yeah, Ecommerce Masterplan podcast.
Brilliant. And where can we physically see you? You've got any events lined up that
at the moment,
paneling?
I've just got back from the delivery conference in London where I was hosting a couple of panels. And at the moment, I don't think there's anything else booked until e-commerce expo in September, which is insane. I mean, I'm loving the fact
a long way home.
I'm loving the fact I've got a lot of desk time because I've got a lot of foundational stuff to do this year as well. But I doubt I will be here until September. I suspect I will be travelling somewhere else in the meantime.
There's a couple of interesting Amazon ones I'll be attending, but there's an AI one. I'm not going to promote it here, but there's quite a few like AI ones international that I'll be exploring. You might want to check that out as well. So, but yeah, thank you very, very much for your time. It's been lovely seeing you. And yeah, that wraps up today's episode. Thank you very much.
It's been awesome being a part of this episode, and I hope it really helps your audience. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.